What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. The so-called blue wall states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin have paved the path to the White House for the last two Democratic presidents, Barack Obama and Joe Biden. But with just 14 days until the November 5th election, there are concerns within Kamala Harris's campaign about whether the vice president can claim all three states. Recent discussions have centered on the possibility of an anomaly happening this year with just part of the blue wall breaking its way. The conversations have focused on whether Michigan or Wisconsin fall to former President Donald Trump, while the two other states go blue, according to three sources with knowledge of the campaign's strategy. Losing Wisconsin or Michigan would mean that even if Harris secures Pennsylvania, where both Harris and Trump have spent the most time and resources, she would not reach the necessary 207 electoral votes to win the White House without winning another battleground state or possibly two. Says a senior Harris campaign official, there has been a thought that maybe Michigan or Wisconsin will fall off. The campaign official has stressed that the bigger concern is over Michigan. Two other people with knowledge of campaign strategy who, like others in this article that I'm reading, were granted anonymity to speak candidly, also underscored deep concern about Michigan. Those people still believe that all the states are close and that there are alternative routes to victory. And a Harris campaign spokesperson pushed back against the notion about deep concerns over Michigan, pointing to recent public polling. A Detroit News poll conducted October 1st through 4th found Harris, who was campaigning in Michigan on Monday, holding a slight lead in the state, as did a Washington Post poll on Monday. Harris campaign spokeswoman Lauren Hitt said, quote, "We absolutely are competing to win in Michigan," noting Harris's presence there this week. "We think we will win Michigan." She added that she believes they will also win Wisconsin and saw no signs of it slipping. But also potentially troubling for Democrats, what Harris's campaign had thought of was one of its best insurance policies may also be in peril. Just a few weeks ago, several Harris advisors in interviews pointed to the combination of electoral votes from North Carolina and Nevada as a strong alternative path for Harris should Trump win Pennsylvania and claim its 19 electoral votes. While North Carolina is still in the campaign sights and Democrats maintain strong organization and leadership there, the Harris team is far less bullish about victory, for people with knowledge of the dynamics said. The anonymous Harris campaign official said of North Carolina, quote, "Of all the 7 states, that one seems to be a little bit slipping away as far as North Carolina." Hurricane Helene's destruction and the rampant disinformation that followed it are factors that could weigh against Harris in North Carolina. One of the sources also pointed to a less competitive race for governor as a potential factor. A series of scandals upending Republican candidate Mark Robinson's campaign, putting him far behind Democrat Josh Stein in polling. Those developments have meant less local investment in intensity. On the ground, that person said. After President Joe Biden stepped aside from seeking the nomination and endorsed Harris on July 21st, Democrats' map expanded to include the 6 battleground states that Biden won in 2020, the 3 blue wall states, Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia, plus North Carolina. And while the campaign had built infrastructure in those states under Biden, his stubbornly low ratings on the economy and immigration really kept only the 3 blue wall states in play. That changed when Harris entered the race. Suddenly, enthusiasm, fundraising, and volunteer interest soared, and the positive polling followed. But as the November 5th election nears, Harris and Trump have been deadlocked in a margin of error contest. Look, this is going to be a really, really close election. All right, there's not going to be some runaway victory for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. No matter how much you want to wish cast it to be, that's not what's going to happen. There are things going on with Trump that hurts him, and things are going on with Kamala that hurts her. Trump is a very toxic, polarizing figure. Whether you love him or hate him, that doesn't change the fact that he has a lot of people that don't like him. There are people within the Republican rank and file that don't like him. And as a consequence, they are backing his opponent. They hate him. He does have a legion of voters, enough to secure him election, obviously. But if he was a less toxic figure, I tend to think he'd have been running away with this. But, it is what it is, His rhetoric, the January 6th debacle, or insurrection, you want to call it. Trump's so-called, supposed ties to 225, the 225 Project 225, all these things, his apparent racism, all these things play factors into what hurts Trump. Even there's some polling that seems to suggest that his most loyal constituency, which have been white working class voters, there's some slippage in that group, although I'm a little skeptical of the polling in that one. Kamala Harris, we all know her flaws. She wasn't democratically selected. The first time that a nominee for a major party ticket, the top, well, in general, the first time the major party has nominated a candidate that was not selected by the primary process since Hubert Humphrey in 1968. And back then, you still had the rules set in place where not every state held primaries. So, Kamala Harris is in a unique situation here. She's also hurt by the fact that the president of the United States still has only a 41% approval rating, Joe Biden. The unpopularity of the Biden administration when it comes to immigration, when it comes to pocketbook issues, the economy, all those things hurt her. Plus, her, she's not particularly popular, even though the media is pumped about media steroids that make her seem like she's popular, the female version of Barack Obama 2008. But it's artificial. And then there are people that have generally been loyal Democratic voters who are not warm on her because of the fact that they think she's inauthentic and she has skeletons in her closet. Then again, so does Trump. Trump got a graveyard, honestly, of skeletons, maybe literally. But anyway, this is going to be a close election, man. If I had to go out on a limb, which considering my size is a high risk, a risky action on my part to do, but if I had to go out on a limb, I would say I think this election tilts ever so slightly to Trump at this point. I do think that there is legitimate movement to him, and it's not just statistical noise. I think what's going on, and I feel a little bit more comfortable saying this for 2 weeks ago, I suspect that Trump may once again be somewhat underpolled or underrepresented in these polls. That's a possibility. There's a possibility I could be wrong, and maybe women are being underrepresented in these polls. I don't know. But my gut, if you ask me what I think, and I think it's appropriate to say this now with just 14 days into the election. We can start forecasting these things now, giving our opinions. I think he's still slightly underrepresented in these polls, and I don't believe for a second that those undecided voters are really undecided voters. I suspect they're Trump supporters who just don't want to admit they're voting for Trump. But yeah, this is the thing. Trump can most certainly win many of those states he lost in 2020. I think he's the slight favorite to win Nevada. I think it's a good bet he may flip Arizona as well. So let's do the math. Last time he had 232 electoral votes to Biden's 306. Now, since we had the United States Census, there's been a reapportionment of electoral votes in the Electoral College. So the states in which he won 232 electoral votes in 2020 would be 235 today. So he would gain 3 electoral votes. Much of that has to do with the fact that Florida's moved from 29 to 30. Texas has gone from 38 to 40. And North Carolina's moved from 15 to 16. But there's been some other states that he carried that have lost electoral votes. One of them being, I just saw the Ohio. Ohio's gone from 18 to 17. Okay. So if you give him 235, as far as the states that he carried in 2020, and you assume he doesn't lose any of those states, if he carries Nevada with his 6, that pushes him 241. Arizona will give him 11 more, that pushes him to 252. If he carries Pennsylvania, that's 19, that gets him the presidency, 271. Trying to look at some other math here. Nevada, Arizona, 252. If he flips Wisconsin, that's 262. And Michigan gives him the presidency with 277. So there are different paths for Trump to win. But then again, Kamala Harris could very well win Electoral College outright. I do want to say this, though. This is what I think should be alarming to Democrats a little bit. Joe Biden was in a much stronger position 4 years ago than Kamala Harris is. And he underperformed on Election Day to a certain extent. Same thing with Hillary Clinton. She underperformed a little bit. Kamala will have to hope to perform a little bit better than expected, because her only being a point or two ahead of Trump nationally, that's a bad omen. If I was her, if I was a supporter of hers, I'm a little bit nervous of that. Now, some of that could be some of these deep blue states trending red, or trending a little less blue, I guess it's not trending red. California, New York. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump performs a little better in those states. He's not going to win them. But if he gets to like 36% of vote in California, 39 to 40% of vote in New York, those are millions of votes. Remember, 17 million people voted in California in 2020. This year it might be close to 20 million. So that in itself could shift the popular vote numbers a little bit. So it pads Trump's vote tally a little bit. So that could skew things a little bit. But if Trump's at 48%, 47, 49, I don't know if that bodes too well, man. I'm just saying, still very, very close. But if this trend kind of continues, I'm starting to think the old dude gonna win, man. There's gonna be a lot of mad women in this country, man, if he wins. I know that. But hey, if Kamala pulls it off, be a lot of mad brothers too. A lot of pissed off brothers. But anyway, tell me what you guys think, man.